Every photographer should do this. As much as I like getting new inspiration from new sources, whether it's books or online courses or workshops, there has been a tremendous impact on my own growth as a photographer that came from a different thing, that came from something which didn't necessarily have something to do with new inspiration. It came from reviewing my old photographs. In this video, I want to explain why I find this very thing so important to do and what it taught me and what it can probably also teach you. Thank you for sticking around today. Let's jump right into the video. Reviewing old photographs. So what is that actually good for? First of all, there's something that I didn't expect at all, but it's something that is very powerful about photography in general, and it has a lot to do with emotion. So usually photographs have the ability to transport emotion, especially the sooner you edit or the sooner you get a scan back and you hand them to someone else, or the sooner you look at it yourself. Imagine shooting a wedding or a festival or whatever, and the very next day you send the edited pictures and they love the photos, and this is a lot of times because they can remember the very moment because it's so recent for them. You know, like the emotions are fresh and everything is kind of, still a little heated up, and that's kind of a nice thing. But what it does to your photographs, even imagine you're on a portrait shooting, for example, and you can't wait to edit those pictures, and you get them and you edit them and you're and you're still in that kind of moment. You just came back from the shooting and you're still so much in love with the moment that you just captured. And this is something very beautiful. But all these emotions, they make it very hard for yourself to objectively look at a photograph and decide whether it's good or not. So what reviewing old photographs has taught me is that sometimes you just relax, you just take some time, you take it slow, and you give yourself the opportunity to kind of detach from those photos. And this will actually help you, and this helped me a lot in terms of deciding if I'm actually looking at a good or okay photograph. This was something that I didn't really expect as a positive effect from reviewing old photographs, but it really changed my view about looking at photographs in general. So when I have the time to take it slow, to review the photos before I send them to the client, I would always do that because that gives you kind of a fresh perspective. So imagine shooting a job for a client, for example. I think it's better to tell them, okay, I need a week or so with the photos before I send them to you, because that allows for some, retrospective and some fresh thoughts on the photos that you're about to send to the client. So this could be for a client shooting, but also, or just, imagine looking back at some photographs that you took last year during your summer vacation. It also allows for seeing those kind of photographs in a different way, in a fresh way. And it happened to me a couple of times when I reviewed some old photographs, street photographs, holiday photographs, whatever it might be. And I stumbled upon some photos and I was like, why did I never post that? Why did I never put this on my website? You just, it just happens that you stumble upon some photos that never seemed to be important to you, like back in the days when you captured them, but now they have sort of like a new energy. They make sense to you when you look at them. So this is something that I didn't expect to happen at all, but it really happened, and I can't emphasize enough how much reviewing my photographs changed my own perspective on my own images. So I highly recommend you doing that. What it's also good for is to learn from your own mistakes. By looking at photographs, if it's portrait, street, landscape, whatever it is, every photographer takes some bad images. The hard thing to do is actually to only pick the good ones to show to the public. But trust me, everyone screws it up at some point. Happened to me hundreds and thousands of times. The important thing that you learn from looking at your own photographs is that you actually dive back into what you maybe screwed up in the moment. What could you do better the next time? Because I think some of you might know this, when you're in the shooting and you know, oh, something's not going wrong, you change something and you just keep going. But in retrospective, so coming back to the photo and really thinking about what you did mess up, especially in analog photography, when you don't have the immediate chance to review your photos, it's really important to come back to your own photographs and really have a look, like, not necessarily technically speaking, what maybe didn't work out, but coming more from an overall, compositional perspective, and really take that time to just look carefully at your photographs and learn from what you maybe did wrong in the first place and what you could do better the next time. The last thing, which is kind of obvious, but was also kind of eye-opening for me, is that looking at your own photographs helps you actually to discover yourself. It actually teaches you a lot about what kind of photos do you actually like taking, what perspectives do you seem to like, what aperture, what, like a lot of things. They just come naturally when you do them, but looking back at the photographs, it really, somehow it's eye-opening to you just by taking it slow and looking at the photographs. And for me personally, in terms of street photography especially, it really opened my eyes and it showed me like what kind of topics do I like photographing. Turns out I like to photograph, for example, a lot of flowers. I like photographing a lot of posters that are kind of ripped off from the wall. I like taking photographs of people from behind. All these sort of things that you don't really get to see just by having your photos, like seeing them one or maybe two times. It really takes some time to get that sense of, what's actually happening inside of me. So I highly recommend doing this as well. So this taught me a lot about my photographic vision. Bonus tip: in order to review your photos, I would recommend printing them out. There is just something, as I mentioned in some other videos before, there is just something very magical about having your photos being printed, making them tangible and putting them just like on the floor, on the table, and just, have a look and just, dive back into the photos and see your photos next to each other. It is much easier than looking on the screen, and it is much more fun to do. And you actually find, just like, imagine just like throwing the photos like on the table, just doing like, like mixing them up, and somehow you end up with some new sequences that you never thought about before. So highly recommend doing this. It's a lot of fun, and actually you will find out a lot about yourself. So to wrap up the video, there is just one more thing to say. It is a very slow process. No matter if you review the photos on your screen or if you have them printed out, it takes some time and you can't rush the process, because rushing the process wouldn't teach you anything at all. So embrace it, take it slow, and trust me, it's going to be a very rewarding thing. That's it for the video. Thank you so much. I hope you found these tips helpful, and see you in the next one.